The market was loud, filled with voices, footsteps, and flashing lights. But in the corner, almost hidden in the shadows, sat the alien girl. She was small, thin, and her skin carried strange patterns, marks that made her different. Her right leg was gone. Only a rough bandage remained where metal and flesh had once joined. She sat on the cold floor, a small sign in front of her. The words were simple, written with shaky hands. For sale. Need prosthetic leg. The letters looked weak, almost as broken as the girl herself. Crowds walked past her, aliens of many shapes and colors. Some had glowing eyes, some had strong metal arms, others carried fine clothes and heavy credits in their pockets. But not one of them stopped, not one looked at her with kindness. She kept her head down, her long hair fell over her face, hiding her eyes. She did not want them to see the tears. She had cried too many times already. She was not always like this. Once she had been strong, full of life, but an accident had taken her leg and with it her place in the world. Now she was only the broken alien girl, unwanted, unloved, unseen. Too weak, some whispered as they passed. Not worth anything, others said. Some even laughed, pointing at her sign. The cruel sound of their voices cut deeper than any wound. But she stayed. She had no choice. If she did not sell herself, she would not survive. A prosthetic leg was her only hope, her only chance to walk again, to stand tall again. The day grew long, the sun shifted behind the clouds of the alien city. Yet no one stopped. Her heart sank lower with every passing hour. Hope was slipping away. She began to wonder if maybe they were right. Maybe she was not worth anything. A memory came to her. Long ago, before she was broken, when she could still run, still laugh, she remembered the fields of her homeworld, the sound of rivers, the voices of her people. Back then she had believed in a future. But that future had vanished. Now she was only trying to survive one more day. Her stomach growled. She had not eaten since yesterday. She pressed her arms around herself. But it did not stop the hunger. Still, she did not move from her spot. The sign stayed in front of her, silent, desperate. The crowd never stopped, faces blurred as they walked by. Some eyes glanced at her, cold and quick, then moved away. She was like an object, not a person. She was invisible. And yet, deep inside, a small spark of hope refused to die. Maybe, just maybe, someone would see her, not the broken body, not the missing leg, but the girl behind it. A storm began to build in the sky above. The clouds turned dark, rain started to fall, the market lights flickered. The aliens pulled their cloaks tighter and hurried along. None cared about the girl in the corner. Her sign grew wet. The ink started to run, the words blurred, almost gone. She lifted her head for the first time. Her eyes searched the crowd. Her voice, weak and cracked, whispered into the night air. Please, someone, please help me. No one answered. The sound of rain and footsteps drowned her words. She lowered her head again, hugging her arms tighter. The cold rain hit her skin, mixing with her tears. The world was too big, too cruel, and she was too small, too broken. But then, something shifted. A shadow fell across her, not like the others rushing past. This one stopped, this one waited. She slowly lifted her head. Through wet hair and blurry eyes, she saw boots, plain and worn, not like the polished shoes of the wealthy. Slowly her gaze moved upward and she froze. It was a human. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. Stories about them were whispered. Some said they were dangerous, some said they were clever, others said they were kind. This one stood silent, watching her. His eyes did not hold disgust nor laughter. They held something else. Something she had not seen in a long time. Pity, maybe, or compassion. She felt her heart beat faster, fear mixed with hope. Why was he standing there? Why was he looking at her when no one else had? The rain fell harder. The human reached into his coat, pulled out a small cover, and placed it above her head, shielding her from the storm. The alien girl stared, speechless. Her lips trembled, her voice almost broke as she whispered, Why are you helping me? The human did not answer yet. He only looked at her, steady, calm. His eyes spoke louder than words. Because you matter. For the first time in a long time, the girl felt something warm inside her chest. A spark, small but alive, the kind of spark that could grow into hope. And in that moment she realized something had begun, something different, something new, something that could change everything. The broken alien girl had been seen. And humanity had noticed her. Rejection everywhere. The rain had stopped, but the air was still heavy. The alien market smelled of wet dust and old wires. Bright lights flickered on again, glowing above stalls where merchants shouted, bargaining for credits. The world moved on as if nothing had happened. But for the alien girl, time felt frozen. She sat in her corner, her clothes wet, her sign ruined by the storm, her weak body shivered. She pulled the broken cloth closer around herself, trying to stay warm. For a short moment, she had thought someone would help her. The human had stopped, he had looked at her, his eyes had been different, but then he had walked away into the crowd, leaving her under the dripping shadows. The small spark of hope she felt had quickly faded. It was dangerous to believe in miracles. Hope only made the pain stronger when it was crushed. As the night grew darker, more aliens passed her corner. Some glanced at her, most ignored her. A few slowed down, reading her sign, their eyes filled with disgust. One tall alien with scales hissed under his breath, "Broken junk," and spat near her feet. His friends laughed as they walked away. The girl lowered her head again, her heart felt heavy. She wanted to disappear, she wanted to close her eyes and never wake up. But hunger reminded her that she could not. If she gave up now, she would never survive. Another group passed. These ones carried weapons at their belts, mercenaries from some war far away. They stopped for a moment, looking down at her. One of them pointed at her missing leg and smirked. "Not even worth a credit," he said. "She can't fight, she can't work." They laughed and moved on, leaving only fear behind. Every word cut her deeper than a blade. She felt her heart shrinking, like the world itself was trying to crush her. She remembered her homeworld again, the time before everything had gone wrong. Her people used to sing at night, gathering around the fire, telling stories. She remembered running across the fields, her 2 legs strong, her body full of energy. Back then she had never imagined that one day she would sit alone, unwanted, waiting to be bought like trash. Her sign was ruined now, the ink blurred from the rain, but she fixed it with shaking hands, writing the words again. "For sale. Need prosthetic leg." Her fingers were numb, her stomach was empty, her voice weak, yet she forced herself to sit tall. Even if no one cared, even if they only saw her as broken, she refused to completely give up. The crowd around her grew thicker, more merchants shouted, more buyers argued. The sound was overwhelming, but in all that noise she felt like a ghost, invisible. A child alien walked past, holding his parent's hand. He pointed at her, asking in his innocent voice, "What's wrong with her?" The parent pulled him away quickly, saying, "Don't look, she's worthless." Her chest tightened. She was not even a person anymore, only a lesson to be avoided. Minutes turned to hours, hours stretched into the night. Her body hurt from sitting so long, her single leg ached, but she stayed because leaving meant surrender. A group of rich aliens appeared, their clothes were fine, their jewels glowing. They stopped at her corner, looking her up and down. One of them whispered something to another. They laughed, shaking their heads. "Who would ever want that?" One said loudly enough for her to hear. The girl bit her lip until it bled. She wanted to scream, to cry, to tell them she was still alive, still someone, but no sound came out. Her voice was trapped deep inside. As they walked away, she closed her eyes. For a moment, she let the darkness inside her mind take over. She imagined standing again with a new leg, imagined being strong, imagined walking away from this cursed place. But when she opened her eyes, the broken world was still there, and she was still on the floor. The rejection did not stop. It became heavier as the night went on. The more they ignored her, the more invisible she felt. Every cruel word, every glance, every laugh was another weight pulling her down. And yet, deep inside, the smallest part of her still waited, still whispered maybe someone, just one, would see her, not as broken, not as useless, but as alive. The sound of boots returned, slow, steady, different from the others. Her heart skipped. She lifted her head, her eyes widened. It was the human again. He had not left completely, he had returned, his face calm, his eyes still filled with that strange thing. Kindness? The aliens near him moved aside, some muttered, confused. Humans were rare here, and this one was wasting time on nothing. But the human did not care. He stepped closer to the girl, his shadow covered her once again. This time he did not leave. The alien girl's lips trembled. She wanted to speak, to ask him why, but no words came. She only stared, half afraid, half hopeful. The human bent down, picking up her ruined sign. He looked at the words, then at her, his eyes softened. "You are not for sale," he said in a low voice, firm and steady. The alien girl blinked, her heart pounded in her chest. She could not believe it. For the first time, someone was not rejecting her, not laughing, not ignoring her. But she also feared, was this real? Or was it just another cruel trick? The market continued around them, loud, busy, but for her, the world had gone quiet. Only the human remained in her vision. Only his words echoed in her heart. And in that silence, something new began to grow, a fragile hope, almost too small to feel, but it was there. She was no longer completely invisible. Humanity had seen her again. The human appears. The market did not notice him at first. The stalls were alive with noise, merchants shouting, buyers arguing, the smell of food and oil mixing in the air. But when the human stepped forward, a hush fell over the crowd closest to him. Not silence, not complete, but a ripple, like a stone thrown into water. Humans were rare in this corner of the galaxy. Their kind did not often travel here, and when they did, they kept to themselves. Most beings in the market had only heard stories about them, stories of cleverness, of courage, of strangeness. Some said humans were dangerous, Others said they were weak but stubborn. A few whispered they were too emotional, too soft. But this one, this human, walked with quiet strength. His clothes were simple, worn from travel. His boots carried dust from far roads. His face was tired but not cruel. His eyes were steady, watching everything. And now those eyes were on her. The alien girl froze, her thin body stiffened as if she had been struck. She wanted to look away but could not. She had grown used to cruel stares, mocking stares, empty stares. But this was different. His eyes were not filled with disgust or laughter. They were searching, weighing, seeing. For a moment, she forgot her hunger, her pain, even the rain-soaked cloth around her shoulders. Her chest rose and fell quickly. Her heart thumped like a drum in her ears. The human bent down, his shadow stretched across her broken form. He lifted the ruined sign she had written with shaky hands. He held it for a moment, reading the blurred words. For sale. Need prosthetic leg. Then he looked back at her. His expression did not twist into a smirk. He did not turn away. Instead, his voice came low and calm. You are not for sale. The girl's lips parted, but no sound came. She had heard countless voices before. Cold, cruel, indifferent. But never words like these, simple, steady, strong. They did not sound like pity. They sounded like truth. Her mind raced. Why is he speaking to me? Why is he looking at me like this? The crowd around them murmured. Aliens watched with curiosity. Some whispered to each other, surprised that a human would waste time on broken trash. A merchant snorted. Humans are fools, always chasing lost causes. But the human ignored them. His attention stayed on her. Finally, the girl forced her voice to work. It was weak, cracked, almost lost. Why? She whispered. Why? Are you helping me? The human's eyes softened. He did not answer right away. Instead, he crouched lower, meeting her gaze. His face was close now, close enough that she could see the lines of wear, the marks of a traveler who had seen hardship. You matter, he said quietly, more than they will ever see. The words hit her harder than any insult, harder than any laugh. Her throat tightened, her eyes burned, tears threatened to fall. She bit her lip, shaking her head. No. I am broken, I am nothing. The human frowned, not in anger but in sadness. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small piece of cloth. He held it above her head, shielding her from the dripping rain still falling from the roofs of the stalls. You are not nothing, he said firmly. You are alive, that is enough. The girl trembled. She did not know if she should believe him. Her entire life since the accident had been filled with rejection, cruelty, silence. Yet here was someone saying the opposite. Here was someone seeing her not as broken metal and flesh, but as a living being. The human glanced at her leg, the rough bandage, the missing limb. His jaw tightened, but not in disgust, only in concern. You need help, he said. Not chains, not buyers, help. She swallowed hard. The word help felt like a dream. She wanted to believe it, but fear still coiled inside her. Fear that he was lying, fear that this was another trick. One of the merchants nearby laughed. Leave her, human, she's broken, worthless, you'll gain nothing but trouble. Others nodded, agreeing, their voices like knives in the air. The human stood slowly, his height casting a stronger shadow over her. His gaze turned cold as he looked at the merchant. Then why are you afraid of her finding help? He asked. His voice was calm, but sharp. The merchant had no answer, only a sneer. The human turned back to her, his expression soft again. What is your name? He asked. The girl blinked, her lips trembled. She had not spoken her name in so long. No one had asked, no one had cared. She whispered it, so soft the rain almost swallowed it. The human nodded, repeating her name with care, as if it were something precious, something worth remembering. And in that moment, something changed inside her. For the first time in endless days, she felt like she was not invisible, not forgotten, not worthless. The human did not give her food, he did not give her credits, he gave her something far more powerful. Recognition. The alien girl sat there, her heart pounding, unsure of what this meant, unsure of what would come, but she knew one thing with absolute clarity. This human was different. And his presence had already begun to shift the course of her fate. The first connection. The market had grown quieter as the night stretched long. The rain had finally stopped, leaving puddles shining under the neon lights. Merchants began closing their stalls, voices fading into the shadows. But the corner where the alien girl sat was no longer invisible. The human had not left. He stood near her still, his presence steady, his eyes calm, his voice quiet. But each word carried weight. For the first time in days, maybe years, she felt someone truly saw her. Her name still echoed in her mind. He had spoken it like it mattered, like it was not just a broken sound from a broken being. No one had asked her name in so long, she had almost forgotten the warmth it carried. She looked at him with cautious eyes, her thin hands clutched the ruined sign on her lap. Her voice was small. Why do you care? The human crouched again, so they were closer to eye level. He did not rush, he did not force his words, he only said, "Because you are alive, because you deserve more than this." She shook her head, bitter sadness pulling at her. I am broken, I am useless, they are right." Her eyes fell to the bandaged stump where her leg used to be. She whispered, "Who would want someone like me?" For a moment, the human was silent. He let her words hang in the air, heavy with despair. Then he answered, his voice firm, "I do not want someone like you, I see you as you are, not as they say you are." The words struck deep. A warmth spread through her chest, fragile but real. She looked at him again, searching for lies, but his eyes were steady, honest. Her stomach growled suddenly, loud in the quiet night. Embarrassed, she tried to hide her face, but the human only reached into a small bag at his side and pulled out a simple ration pack. He broke it in half, offering her a piece. She stared at it, hesitant, her hands shook. "Why would you give this to me?" "Because you are hungry," he said simply. She hesitated, fear whispering that it might be a trick. But the hunger was stronger. She reached out slowly, her thin fingers brushing against his hand as she took the food. For a heartbeat, she felt the warmth of his skin, strange, human, alive. She ate quickly, almost desperately, her body trembling as she swallowed each bite. Tears pricked her eyes, not from the taste, but from the simple fact that someone had fed her, not for profit, not for mockery, but for kindness. When she finished, she whispered, "Thank you." The words felt heavy on her tongue. She had not spoken them in so long, she barely remembered how. The human nodded. "You do not need to thank me, you deserve to eat." She studied him carefully, still unsure, still afraid, but her heart wanted to believe. "You are different," she said softly. He tilted his head, a faint smile touching his lips. "So are you." Her breath caught. No one had ever said those words in kindness. Different had always meant broken, strange, unwanted, but from his voice, it sounded like something valuable. The silence between them grew gentle, not heavy. For once, she did not feel crushed by the weight of the world. She felt lighter, if only a little. Then a rough voice broke the moment. A merchant had returned, his eyes greedy. He looked at the girl and then at the human. "If you want her, you'll have to pay. She's been sitting here for days, taking up space. I'll sell her cheap." The girl froze, shame flooding her again. She lowered her head, expecting the human to walk away now that a price was set. But he stood tall, his eyes hard. "She is not property," he said, his voice cut through the night like a blade. "You cannot sell her, not to me, not to anyone." The merchant sneered. "Everything is property if someone is willing to pay." He reached out to grab her arm to prove his point. But before he could, the human stepped forward, blocking him. His posture was calm but firm. His voice dropped low, dangerous. "Touch her again and you will regret it." The merchant's hand froze, his eyes narrowed. He muttered a curse and backed away, spitting on the ground before disappearing into the shadows. The girl's eyes were wide. She had expected the human to leave, not to fight for her. Her voice shook as she whispered, Why do you protect me?" The human turned back to her, his expression softer again. "Because no one else will, because you are worth protecting." Her chest ached. A tear slid down her cheek. She quickly wiped it away, afraid to show weakness, but he had already seen and he did not mock her. He simply waited, patient, steady, like a wall against the storm. Slowly she whispered, I don't understand you." "You don't need to," he said. "Just know that you are not alone anymore." The words wrapped around her like a blanket, warming her against the cold night. For the first time in so long, she felt safe, not completely, not fully, but enough to breathe, enough to believe. She dared to lift her head higher, to meet his gaze without shame. His eyes held no cruelty, no disgust, only something she had almost forgotten, compassion. The girl whispered again, her voice fragile but filled with something new. Maybe you are right, maybe I am not nothing." The human nodded, his smile faint but real. "You are not nothing, you are someone, and that is enough." For the first time since she had lost her leg, the alien girl felt a spark inside her chest, a spark of connection, fragile but alive. And though the market was still filled with noise and shadows, she knew one thing with certainty. Her life had changed, because humanity had reached out its hand, and she had taken it. Struggle and choice. The market had almost gone quiet. Many stalls were closed, the glowing lights dimmed. Only a few merchants remained, cleaning their tables, counting their credits. The air smelled of wet stone and smoke from food fires now dying out. The alien girl still sat in her corner, but she no longer felt invisible. The human stood beside her, tall and steady. His presence was like a shield. His words still echoed in her mind. "You are not nothing." For the first time she dared to believe it might be true. But not everyone in the market agreed. From the shadows, the same greedy merchant who had tried to sell her earlier returned. And this time he was not alone. 2 others followed him, both larger, their arms thick with muscle and scars. They walked with heavy steps, their eyes full of cruelty. The girl felt her stomach twist in fear. She had seen men like this before. Dealers, traffickers, slavers, they saw everything broken or desperate as profit, and now they saw her as theirs. "There she is," the first merchant sneered, his voice loud enough to echo across the emptying market. "The broken girl, my property, you think you can just walk away with her, human?" The girl's body trembled, she hugged herself, pulling the ruined cloth tighter around her shoulders, her heart pounded fast. She whispered, "They won't let you help me." The human's jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. "She is not your property, she belongs to no one." The larger of the 2 brutes stepped forward, his voice was like gravel. "Then pay, human, everything has a price, even broken things." His eyes glowed faintly as he stared at the girl, making her shrink back. "I said no," the human answered, his voice was steady but behind it was steel. The 3 merchants laughed, the sound cruel. "You think you can stop us? 1 human against 3. The leader stepped closer, pointing a finger at the girl. "She is mine, I found her first, she is worth credits, even if only for parts." The girl's heart dropped, fear stabbed into her chest. She lowered her head, whispering, "Please, don't fight them, they will hurt you, they will hurt us both." But the human crouched beside her again, his voice low, meant only for her. "I told you, you are not alone, trust me." Something in his tone made her look into his eyes. They were calm, unshaken. He was not afraid, and somehow she felt safer just by meeting his gaze. The merchants didn't wait. The first brute stepped forward, reaching to grab her arm. His thick hand moved fast. But before he could touch her, the human caught his wrist. His grip was iron, his voice sharp. "I warned you." With one twist, the human pushed the brute back. The alien stumbled, crashing into a stall with a loud crash of wood and metal. The other brute growled, pulling a blade from his belt. The crowd that remained scattered, gasping. No one wanted to get involved, but everyone wanted to watch. The girl gasped, "No, stop," but her voice was drowned by the clash. The human stood in front of her, his body shielding hers. The second brute slashed, but the human moved quick, sidestepping, grabbing the alien's arm and knocking the blade away. It clattered to the ground, sparks flying. The first brute returned, furious, his fist swung wide. The human ducked, his counter sharp and fast, a strike to the stomach that sent the brute to his knees, coughing. The leader merchant backed away, eyes wide now, his confidence shaken. He had not expected the human to fight so fiercely. The girl watched in shock, her heart racing, her hands pressed to her chest. She had never seen anyone fight for her. No one had ever stood between her and danger like this. The brute struggled to rise again, but the human's voice cut through, strong and clear. "She is not yours, she will never be yours. If you try again, I will not show mercy." The crowd whispered, some nodded, some sneered, but none dared to interfere. The power in his words was too strong. The merchants growled, but they knew the truth. The human would not back down. His strength was not in numbers but in will. His will was unbreakable. Finally, the leader spat on the ground, his voice filled with venom. "She's not worth it anyway. Keep your broken toy, human, but remember this, no one saves the worthless for long." With that, they retreated into the shadows, muttering curses. The market slowly returned to life, but the girl still sat frozen, her heart pounded in her chest, her breath shaky. She looked at the human with wide eyes, whispering, Why risk yourself for me?" He turned to her, crouching again so their eyes met, his voice calm, steady, "Because it was the right choice, because you matter, and because if humanity stands for anything, it is this." She swallowed hard, her throat tight, her eyes filled with tears that finally fell. She tried to hide them, but he saw. He didn't laugh, he didn't judge, he simply waited, letting her cry. And when the tears slowed, she whispered, "No one ever chose me before." The human's face softened, his voice firm, "Then let this be the first time I choose you." The words hit her like light breaking through the darkest storm. For the first time since she had lost everything, she felt something she thought was gone forever. Hope? Her voice trembled, but she whispered back, "Then, I choose to believe you." The market around them no longer mattered, the cruel voices, the laughter, the rejection. All of it faded into silence, for in that moment, a choice had been made. The human had chosen to fight for her. And she had chosen to trust him. Two souls from different worlds, bound not by trade, not by power, but by something stronger, something that no merchant could buy or sell. The beginning of connection. The beginning of love. Humanity's gift. The market had gone quiet at last. The night stretched across the city, broken only by the hum of neon lights and the low buzz of distant engines. Most stalls were locked, merchants gone, only shadows remained. The alien girl sat against the wall, her chest still trembling from fear and tears. The memory of the brutes, their cruel laughter, their greedy hands, still burned in her mind, but stronger than that memory was another. His voice, firm and unshaken. I choose you. The human had not left her. He stood close, watching the streets carefully, making sure no one returned. His presence was like a shield, steady and unbreakable. At last he crouched beside her again, his voice softer now. Are you hurt? She shook her head slowly, though her heart still raced. No, not hurt, she whispered. Not like before? He studied her for a moment, then nodded. Good. His eyes moved to her bandaged stump, his expression grew thoughtful. You need more than safety, you need to stand again. Her eyes widened, she looked down at her broken leg, shame filling her chest. I cannot, she whispered. I am useless like this, I will always crawl, I will always be broken. No, he said firmly. You will walk, you will rise, humanity does not abandon those who can still fight for tomorrow. His words made her tremble, hope and fear mixed inside her. But, how? I have no credits, I cannot pay. The human reached into his worn coat, pulling out a small pouch, he opened it, revealing a handful of credits. His savings, small but real, he placed it in her hands, his voice steady. This is yours now. Her eyes widened, she shook her head, trying to give it back. No, I cannot take this, it is too much, you will have nothing left. He gently closed her hands around the pouch, his voice calm but firm. I will survive, you need this more, with this you will have a prosthetic, you will walk again. Her lips trembled. Why would you give this to me? I am not your blood, not your kind, why would you sacrifice for me? The human met her eyes without hesitation, his words were slow, filled with meaning, because that is what it means to be human, to protect, to lift others when they fall, to choose compassion, even when the world chooses cruelty. The girl could not stop her tears, they spilled down her cheeks, hot and endless. For so long no one had cared, no one had seen her, and now here was someone giving everything, not for profit, not for gain, but because she mattered. She whispered, her voice breaking, no one has ever given me a gift before. The human smiled faintly. Then let this be the first, a gift from humanity to you. The next morning when the market opened again, the human guided her to a small workshop at the far end of the street. It was a place of metal and sparks, where machines hummed and smoke curled into the air. The old mechanic there was grumpy, his hands black with grease. But when the human placed the credits on the counter, he agreed to build a prosthetic leg. The girl sat nervously as the mechanic worked. The sound of tools cutting, shaping, fitting filled the air. She trembled with every noise, afraid it would fail, afraid it was only a dream. But when the work was done, the mechanic brought out a simple but strong prosthetic. It was not shiny or beautiful, but it was real, it could carry her weight, it could help her walk. Her hands shook as they attached it, pain flared, but hope flared stronger. She looked at the human, fear in her eyes. What if I fall? What if I cannot use it? He crouched beside her again, his voice calm, steady. Then I will catch you, and if you fall again, I will still be here. Her chest tightened, tears burned her eyes again. She nodded slowly. Then, I will try. She placed her hands on the chair, pushing herself up. Her body trembled, her new leg felt heavy, strange, foreign, but she stood, her balance wavered. The human stayed close, ready, his hand hovered near her arm but did not force her. He let her choose, he let her stand. She took a step, it was clumsy, shaky, her body almost gave out, but he caught her gently, steadying her. You can do this, he said firmly. Another step, then another, each one slow, painful, but real. For the first time since the accident she was walking again, her chest shook, laughter and tears mixing. I can walk, she whispered, disbelieving. I can walk again. The human smiled, his eyes warm. Yes, you can. The mechanic grumbled, waving them out, but even his hard eyes softened a little at the sight. On the street, under the rising sun, she took more steps. The crowd that once mocked her stopped and stared. Their whispers filled the air. Some were shocked, some curious, some even jealous, but she did not hear them the same way anymore. Because she was walking, because she was not broken anymore. Her hand reached out, trembling, touching the human's sleeve. She whispered, "You gave me back my life." He shook his head gently. "No, you gave it back to yourself. I only reminded you how strong you are." Her heart ached, but it was not the ache of despair. It was something new, something warm, something she had not felt in so long. Hope. And in that hope, she realized the truth. This was not just a gift of metal and wires. This was the gift of humanity, the belief that no one is too broken to rise again. And as she walked beside him, step by step, the girl understood. She was not unwanted, she was not nothing. She had been chosen. And she had been given a gift no one could ever take away. The morning sun stretched over the alien city, the market stirred awake, neon signs flickered back to life. Merchants called out their prices, voices filling the air once again, but in the middle of it all, something had changed. The alien girl was walking. Her steps were small, shaky at first, but each one stronger than the last. The metal leg clicked softly with every movement. Each sound was like music to her heart. For so long she had dreamed of this moment, now it was real. The crowd noticed, whispers rippled through the streets. Is that her? The broken girl? She was crawling yesterday, another voice said. How is she walking now? Some scoffed, some laughed bitterly, but others stared in quiet awe, for they could not deny what they saw. She was no longer crawling in the shadows, she was rising step by step. Beside her walked the human, his pace slow, steady, his hand near her shoulder, not holding her but ready if she stumbled, his eyes calm, protective. His presence was a silent promise. You are not alone anymore. Her chest ached with emotion. Every step felt like breaking chains. She whispered almost to herself, I am not broken anymore. The human glanced at her, a faint smile on his lips. You were never broken, he said softly. You only needed someone to remind you. Tears welled in her eyes again, but these were not tears of despair. They were tears of hope. She blinked them away, lifting her chin higher. They walked through the same streets where she had once been mocked, the same stalls where merchants had laughed, the same corner where she had sat with her ruined sign, begging for someone to notice. Now she walked past it, no longer a shadow. Her eyes met the crowd, not with shame but with quiet strength. The merchants who had tried to claim her glared from afar, their eyes filled with anger and fear. They could no longer touch her. The human's presence was a wall they could not break, but more than that, her new strength was her shield. She was not their property anymore. They left the market, moving into quieter streets. The alien girl walked slower now, her body still weak, but her heart was stronger than ever before. At last, they reached the edge of the city, where the lights faded and the horizon stretched wide. The air was cooler here, the noise of the market was far behind. The girl stopped, turning to face the human, her voice soft, trembling. Why? She asked again. Why me? You could have walked past, you could have ignored me like all the others. The human looked at her for a long moment, his expression calm, thoughtful. Then he said, because humanity does not walk past those who suffer, because we see value where others see none. Because when the galaxy says worthless, we say hope. His words cut into her heart, not like a wound but like a light breaking the darkness. Her lips trembled, she took a deep breath. All my life they told me I was nothing, they left me, they mocked me, they sold me like trash, I believed them, until you. She stepped closer, her prosthetic leg clicked softly, her eyes shimmered with tears. You gave me more than a leg, more than food, more than safety, she whispered. You gave me back myself. The human's eyes softened. He placed a hand gently over her shoulder, not heavy, just enough for her to feel the warmth. And you gave me something too, he said. You reminded me why humanity matters, not because of strength, not because of power, but because of compassion. For a moment, silence stretched between them, filled only with the soft wind and the sound of her steady breathing. Then she spoke again, her voice trembling but brave. No one ever loved me before, not truly, not as I am, broken and whole, weak and strong, but now. I think I understand what love is. Her eyes lifted to meet his, and in them burned a new fire, fragile but real. The human's voice lowered, gentle. Love is not about perfection. Love is about seeing someone as they are, and still choosing them every single day. Her tears finally fell, not heavy but soft, like rain in spring. She smiled, a smile weak but shining. Then, I choose you. His lips curved faintly, his eyes warm with something deeper than words. And I choose you. The alien girl stepped forward, her new leg carrying her without fear. She leaned into him, resting her head against his chest. For the first time in her life, she felt safe, truly safe. And in that embrace she understood. She was not the broken alien girl anymore. She was someone loved. She was someone chosen. She was someone who belonged. As the sun rose higher, painting the sky in colors of gold, the girl walked beside the human, step by step. Not as property, not as a shadow, but as a companion, as a soul worth protecting. And in her heart, a truth rang clear. In a galaxy filled with cruelty and indifference, it was not strength, not wealth, not power that saved her. It was humanity,